Hey guys, welcome to Behind Church Doors. I am Rochelle Richard.
And I am Jenna Lewis. And we both grew up in fundamentalist churches and are here to share our deconstruction with you. You're listening to the second half of our series on purity culture. We pick up right where we left off, so for context, we encourage you to listen to part 1 if you have not.
I think if I had more of an open conversation and relationship with my mom, she knew from because we talked about it when I was maybe 20s. She knew from a young age that I was interested in women. Even before,
really?
I think even before I knew. Yeah, we've had a conversation about it maybe twice.
So she knows now.
I don't know if she knows. She doesn't know my current lifestyle.
Right.
But she definitely knows that I've been interested in women. And I guess maybe unfortunately for me, I have a very specific type of woman that I'm interested in.
Why is that unfortunate?
Because I'm sure she knows. Because they literally all look alike.
They look like you. You're attracted to yourself.
But taller. Me, but taller with bigger boobs. Literally, yeah.
I remember I'm not going to say their name, but I'm saying when you first showed me, I'm like, I don't know which one is you and which one is the other person. I'm not going to say, I was just I remember the first picture you sent me and I'm like, which one?
I could probably show you 4 different women right now.
Fucking hilarious.
That all have the very same, very similar facial features and they are very similar to me, except they're at least 5'11" with H's.
You like them tall? You like them tall girls?
Yeah, seriously.
So tell me about that though. So tell me about because I think that's very important because we talked right before this that the LGBTQ is completely just not even accounted for.
No, there's not even that's not even an option as far as purity culture goes.
No.
And I feel we could do a whole coming out episode about how I got to that point. But outside of that, as far as purity culture goes, there was never just a conversation of well, would you even want to have sex with a boy? You know what I mean? And I feel if someone asked me that at 12, I would have been I don't like boys, but that girl's really pretty. You know?
Yeah.
I would have said that, but it was so frowned upon and I just knew it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And I knew I would disappoint my parents, and so I just didn't want to to bring that up. But I feel once I did start having sex with men, it was oh, I had sex with this guy, and I had a really good friend of mine who turned into someone that I ended up dating. But even before that, we were friends, and even now we're still really good friends after that. But
what did we call him? We had names for every guy.
No, not married guy.
Not married guy.
This is a girl. This is a girl.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a girl that I dated early. She was a really good friend of mine, late teens, early 20s. I didn't know
you dated a girl in your 20s.
I think you know her. I just don't think you knew that I dated her at that time.
After this is over, I'm telling you who.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that. But yeah, so she I would tell her oh, I hooked up with this guy, this is what it felt like, and she's like, did you? I'm like, I didn't like it. Is that what it's supposed to feel like? And she's like, well, yeah, but if you don't like it, don't do it again. And I'm like, okay, but I'm maybe I'm supposed to like this.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just not doing it right. And so I had...
It's true a lot of the time.
Yeah, so I kind of tried, and then I'm just yeah, this is just what...
me.
There's something wrong... No, I thought there's something wrong with me.
Oh,
I just don't work right. So, believe it or not, I'm 19 years old, doing research on what is sex supposed to feel like, and if...
That's so sad.
And I found information that said, not all women, finish from penetration. It was, from a Christian...
Of course.
Forum. And it basically said, if you're not finishing from penetration, suck it up.
No. It wasn't he needs to go down?
No. It was you just have to deal with it because your man needs to be pleased.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not, and that's a very big thing.
That is a very big thing.
I don't know if it, community. I don't think that I heard much about it at the church that we grew up in, but I know, specifically in my family, even to this day, me and my husband got into a pretty good argument a few weeks ago, and I told my mom I have to do all these things and then I gotta go home and lay down for him, I'm not doing it, and she's like, you better. Yeah, literally, as a 34-year-old woman, she told me you better, your husband wants you better give it to him. It's not your body. You're married to him. Your body belongs to him. And I was like, nah. Literally told her just like this, nah, fam, that ain't for me. I I was like, that's not me.
That does not surprise me at all.
I was like, nah, if I'm not into it, like,
no.
I was like, if I'm not into it, like, or if you're, and so I asked her, I'm like, this is not at all the situation that it was, but I was like, for instance, I was like, if I come home and he's been sitting at home all day and like, I have to clean the house and do all these things and now I got to sleep with him, I'm supposed to do it? And she's like, yes. And I was like, yeah. And that's when I knew, like, my boundaries with my mom were not clear and that, like, this is not a conversation that I will ever have with her again because, like, I'm telling you that I'm having marital problems and you're biblically telling me, like, sleep with your husband whenever he wants it. Like, you're crazy. I'm not doing it.
No.
And so that's like...
Nobody should, in any relationship, should be having sex if they don't want to.
No. You should, and he would absolutely, hands down, never, ever...
never
he would force me.
Never.
If we're not in a good place, like, he's not gonna even... You know what I mean?
Right.
He'll go without for however long if I'm in, like, in a funk, you know?
Yeah, my husband's the same.
And I don't know if it's just, like, women, but me personally, like, sex relates to, like, emotion to me.
Yeah, so what's funny is, like, my husband is very much like that. Like, he is very much like, I have to be in an emotional place to have sex.
That's how I am.
I am not. I'm like, just
neither is my husband.
Me. All right, I just need, that's it.
He's like, just give me the 20 minutes I need and we can go back to being mad.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck yourself in those 20 minutes.
Why can you guys not have sex when you're mad? Who cares? Just have some angry sex.
I honestly think
Sorry, I'm getting on a tangent.
I just like...
You and my husband are too much alike.
We really are, which is why we, like, cannot be in a room together for too long.
You cannot.
But, like, I just think that, like, early on, I just related sex to, like, emotion and sex to, like, feeling.
I will say, like, that is very much, if you think about it, though, that is very much a product of the church a little bit.
Because, no, I think so, yeah.
Because I know, like, when they do talk about sex, it's like, you know, always within the context of marriage, right? And it's just like, it's this beautiful thing that blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, it's a carnal thing that just fucking feels good. Like
having, like making a child.
Yeah.
From that, beautiful. Like, your child being a product of this,
you too.
Absolutely beautiful. But, like, fucking banging it out 5 minutes in the coat closet because we were horny, that's, like, I don't see where that's beautiful. But,
it's
like...
beautiful, but it gets the job done.
It gets... I guess.
Okay, says the girl that had sex in my backyard at my husband's birthday party. Okay, so let's just get it straight. You do have a little bit of carnal in you.
No, right? I definitely do.
So I think you're going to need to clarify, because anybody listening to this may be very confused right now, because you've talked about, like, you're really into women, and now you've also said you have a husband and a child.
Yes.
So I think you need to, at least, if someone's listening that doesn't know, I think you need to clear that part up, like, if you identify, like, and I guess you don't even have to say how you identify. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have, like, bisexual or...
For sure. So I think growing up, I was very much my first crush was a girl. Absolutely, hands down. I don't think I was, like, interested in boys until I was told that I was supposed to be interested in boys, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Like, my natural instinct was like, oh, that girl's cute. Like, I want to hold her hand. Like, I want to sit next to her. You know what I mean? And not just, like, be her friend. Like, I want to sit next to her.
Yeah.
That's my first memory of, like, a romantic feeling. Yeah. Was with a woman. So I would say, like, all through my teen years, it was definitely, like, suppressing it, not thinking about it. But like I said, I was also just a kid that, like, whatever my parents told me that I should do, I was going to do it because I didn't want to disappoint them. So I suppressed that a lot. It probably wasn't until I was, like, 19, 20, around that age, that I, like, had my first relationship, or, like, my first, like, romantic interaction with a girl, that I was like, okay, this is more than a friend. And that I was, like, sexual with a girl. I actually, no. I was in Girl Scouts the first time that I was sexual with a girl. There was a girl that was a little bit older than us who was like, oh, like, this is what girls do. And I'm like, do they? We were at, like, summer camp, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe, like, 12, 13 at summer camp. But, like, my first time, like, having an actual, like, memory is probably, like, 1920 when I had my first relationship with a girl, which my mom found out about.
She did.
She did. So I used to.
How have I missed all this drama?
So like I just have never ever wanted to bring shame to my family.
Like,
and
that's
that
crazy because we were close and I didn't know this.
Together for years.
Together, yeah.
We grew up together and you didn't know.
I didn't know this.
My siblings probably have no idea about any of this.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I'm so here for this.
I never wanted to like bring shame on my family, you know? So I'm like, and I know I'm like, if I'm gay, like my family is gonna be ashamed, and my parents have always wanted to like hold these titles in the church,
right,
and grow within like this church that we grew up in.
Yeah.
And within that, like they look at your entire family. If they had a gay daughter, like that would not have gone,
right?
You know. And I was pretty active in their church too. Like they wanted me to like
on the worship team at some point.
They wanted me to like lead worship, sing in the choir, like do these like little talks and stuff when we had like.
And it's not like a massive church. Everybody knows everybody.
No, it's a smaller church. Yeah. So if I had a girlfriend, like they were gonna know, and it was not gonna be a good look for my family. No. So I suppressed a lot of that. And even when I had these relationships with these girls, like I didn't like people, like I wasn't like walking around the mall like holding hands with a girl, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had my first girlfriend. My mom found out.
How did she find out?
I think we were like talking. I think she knew maybe. I remember being in the car with her and having this conversation of like just telling her like, yeah, I kissed her, and her like bawling. Yeah.
Oh no.
She cried and then I cried and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm hurting my mom. Like I've always been really close with my mom.
Yeah, your mom's fat. I love your mom.
Yeah, bless her heart.
Awesome.
Definitely, I feel like just did the best she could at the end of the day.
I just love your mom.
But
I want her to be my mom.
Yeah, she like bawled. Yeah, she was so sad and so hurt. And I think she was sad and hurt because she's like, my daughter's going to hell. Because of course in the Christian church, like homosexuality is like almost the highest level of sin.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Like they are more, the crazy part is, and I think you'll agree with this, I feel like a church is more apt to forgive, if you will, a murderer than they are someone that's a homosexual.
Absolutely. My mom.
I think they're like, God can change anyone for a murderer, but homosexual, you're definitely going to hell.
I've heard my grandfather compare homosexuals to maggots on like spoiled food outside in the dumpster.
Like, that's gotta be awful for you to hear.
Yeah, as someone who, like, identifies with this, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I now I'm definitely an advocate. Like, any chance I have to speak up, I will. But back then I was so young, I didn't understand, like, you know. And I thought it was wrong, and I'm like, I'm doing this wrong thing, but, like, I can't help it kind of thing, you know? So after I had that conversation with my mom, and I saw how hurt she was, I ended that relationship with that romantic relationship with this girl. Like, she and I are still friends to this day, but we ended that relationship.
Is your mom cool that you're still friends with her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just like, it's one of those like, we just don't talk about it type things.
It was done and we just don't open the box.
Basically.
Okay.
We had another conversation about another girl.
Yeah.
And at one point me and mom were like arguing about something, and she named off like all the girls that she's like, and I know you're still gay. And she's like, this person, that, like just named them off. And she's like, I know they were all your girlfriends. And I'm like, yeah, fucked all of them.
Oh my God.
I'm like, every single one of them. Like, in my head, of course, I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong.
You are not wrong.
So it still hurts me, I feel like, to this day, that like I knew that she knew.
Now that makes so much more sense though, because as far as that your mom knew, because for context, you know, your daughter's first birthday, I think, is the first time I met one of your
that's the girl.
Paramours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when she was there, you know, your mom came and like was asking me questions about her because it was the first time I think she had met her.
Wait, we never talked about this.
Did we not?
No, but I'm like here for all of this.
She was like, she came over and sat with me. Like let's give her a name because I don't want to say her actual name. Let's call her what? Brittany. Okay. So Brittany was really making an effort with your mom, right? Like, she was like bending over backwards. Your mom was like not having it.
Yeah.
She was just like at an arm's distance with her.
For sure.
And she came over to me and was like, who is Brittany? And I was like, I knew at the time, you know, what was going on or whatever, but I was like, I was from you know, she knew her, blah, 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 like, you know, whatever, telling her. And you know, in like a high level terms, you know, and she's like, and she goes, and so why is she here?
Oh, man.
And I was like, well, what do you mean why? She's friends and she knows, you know, daughter and blah blah. And then so she's like, but why would, because she flew in for that.
Yeah,
Brittany
weekend.
flew in for that weekend. And your mom was asking me like, but why would she fly for a 1-year-old's birthday party? Like she was asking me like, I was like trying to get out of the conversation so fast. I'm like, I have to leave. My kid is crying. I don't even remember how the conversation ended, but she was asking very pointed questions. And I thought I was like, does she just have that good of vibes? Does she just...
No, and I'm sure she just knows her daughter. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And to this day, me and Brittany are still really good friends.
Yeah.
And she actually was not nice to her for a very long time. Yeah. It probably wasn't until like maybe the last, because now my daughter's going to be 4. So probably like the last 2 years, she's realized like, Brittany's not going anywhere. She's gonna be in my life. She's gonna be in my daughter's life. Yeah. She's gonna be in my husband's life. Like,
so it's like you have to kind of be nice to
and
Brittany.
She's so nice to her. There's been a few different times
Brittany
where
was bending over backwards, like, "Can I help you with this? Can I help you with this?" She was trying so hard,
and that's just like her nature. Yeah, but like even sweet. Now, like when Brittany comes to visit, because she was out of town still. When she comes to visit, she goes to see my mom. And my mom loves her, and she has been trying to move here to just like get closer to like.
Is she really?
Yeah, to get closer to like our daughter and just our family and stuff. Yeah. And my mom is like, I want her here. Like, I would love for her to be here. I'm praying for her to get like XYZ job. Like
that's.
And I know that my mom doesn't say stuff like that, and I don't think it's because I think my mom is just like at a place of like
acceptance.
My daughters are grown up.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna do whatever she wants to do. You know.
I just think it makes so much more sense though, because I'm like, why would she even be thinking that?
So we'd have like a conversation, but I've never like officially come out to my siblings. But I also have just always been someone like, if you ask me something, like I'm not gonna lie to you. My sister has like sort of asked me before, and I told her I told her straight up, like, if you want me to tell you the truth, I'll tell you the truth, but trust me, you don't want to hear it. And she's like, I don't want to know, and she never asked me about it ever again.
Oh my gosh, don't ask, don't tell. What are you, like in the military in
Seriously,
the 50s?
I'm like, I'll tell you, but like, you probably don't want to know.
So how do you, it's probably for another episode. We should definitely continue down this path on another episode with like how like your current relationship kind of like works, how you evolved to this, like, stuff like that. I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, I think there's no account for that in the church.
No, and there's absolutely none.
I know, like in our church, we were always told like you're never supposed to be alone in a room with someone of the opposite sex. Yeah. But it's like they never took into account the same sex.
It's because that was just not an option. Know. I never thought of marrying a woman. Like I always knew I wanted to get married. And for a long time, I feel like I wasn't actually attracted to like men specifically. But to this day, I say like I didn't marry my husband or fall in love with my husband because he's a man.
Right.
Like I fell in love with the person that he is.
Right. And I personally, like, obviously you would have like whatever like labels like or not labels that you would want. But like knowing you now in adulthood and like seeing the multiple relationships you've had, like not in a bad way, but like I would think of you more as like pansexual.
That's exactly how I identify, actually. Okay. Yeah. So because I identify as pansexual.
Because you're very much that, like you said, like that emotional connection person. Like, I don't think you really care about the hardware. Like, it doesn't really matter what's down there.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, you fall in love with the person. And I think, and like I've told my husband this too, and I'm like, I think if I would have been raised differently and I wouldn't have thought it was wrong, like I could definitely see like I could have been pan. I was like, because like, yeah, okay, it's great and everything, but I think I definitely connect more like who the person is, like than anything. Like I don't get like physically attracted to people at all, really. Like I can look at someone and say they're generically attractive, right? I can say, oh, they're hot, they're this, whatever. I don't get like sexually attracted by that though.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my God, do me in the coat closet because you're hot. Like, doesn't do it for me. like once I get to know someone though, and I know who they are, then like,
see, I'm a little bit different. I don't think my brain just does not go straight to like sexual. It doesn't. Like when I met my husband, I was physically attracted to him. And that's like, that was my first like, because I just was not like really, I mean, you know, this was not a nice person when it came to like dating. Like if I didn't like someone and they were trying to date me, I was literally gonna be like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just like my direct personality. I was not a nice girl back in the day, but like I just would be like, yeah, I don't like you.
I wasn't nice either.
I'm good. Okay. Like let's move on, you know?
Yeah.
But when it came to women, I had a totally different outlook. It was like I felt like I liked all of the women until I got to know them, and then that's when I would like weed it out.
Okay.
But I think that comes from being told so much that like you should not like women.
That
and
makes
so
sense.
I think because I was told so much, like because I did like them and I was told not to like them, I was like, I just like all of them, you know?
Like almost like overcorrecting.
Overcorrecting, yeah. So I definitely like, I think if I was like raised to understand like it's okay that you are attracted to someone of the same sex, it would have completely changed my outlook. Do I think that I still would have ended up marrying my husband? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I would have still met him, would have still fallen in love with him, you know, would have still started a family with him. But I think that I just would be in a healthier place as far as like sex goes. Yeah. Even like after being married for almost 8 years, I don't feel like I have a healthy relationship with sex because of how I was originally introduced to it.
I would 100% agree with that. So yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. Like how has being raised in a purity culture affected your marriage? I mean, you don't have to get into like that's pretty personal, but like, at a high level, like what has it done for you and like sexually? So
for a long time in my marriage, I had the mindset of when he wants it, I'm gonna give it to him. And it's not even a conversation that I had with him. It's surrounded around like originally, like I didn't talk to him like whenever you want to have sex, I'm gonna have it with you, even if I'm not in the mood. That's just how I was conditioned to think. And so I like, cause my mom literally raised us like, when your husband wants to have sex, I don't care what you're feeling, what you're going through, you just do it. Because your body does not belong to you anymore. Yeah. It belongs to him. And so for a long time there, I would just do it. And then one time we just like, I don't even know what we were talking about. We had a conversation about it. And I told him that, and he's like, don't ever do that. And I was like, why? And he's like, the fact that he's not that dude. Yeah, he's like, the fact that you like are telling me that you've had sex with me when you weren't in the mood, he's like, that ruins it for me. He's like, after this day, he's like, don't ever have sex with me just because I'm asking for it. He's like, it needs to be between the two of us. That's one of the things that I love about like now, especially that the, you know, consent and like the Me Too movement and a lot of things like that. I love that people are now not just saying like consent is important, but not just that, but beyond that, enthusiastic consent is very important. And I love that is a term being used and taught that both parties should be equally like enthusiastic about whatever you're going to do and agreed upon it. Like that especially I think in a marriage, you know, the consent is not necessarily enough to a healthy sex life. I'm not saying you're a rapist. I'm just saying like, it's for a healthy on both sides. But. And I don't think that like, I think that he like tries, but I think that like our issues with intimacy, like a large part of them stem from like how I was raised. And like the fact that I spent the first like 5 years of our marriage, like just having sex with him when he wanted to have sex. And so now we're like undoing all of that. And now he's like, for both of you. Yeah. And so he's like, when you want to, like when you're comfortable, like if I ask you, and we've even moved to now him just being like, you let me know when you're ready. Because I think he's so careful and so cautious and understands that like, I've been through so much trauma as far as that goes, that he's just trying to be careful to make sure that he protects me. And I don't think I ever had anyone protect me sexually in my entire life. Yeah. And so now I almost feel like I don't know how to respond to that because I'm like, oh, should I still just do it? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I'm so, like him trying to protect me in that way makes me uncomfortable when it shouldn't. Like I should be happy. You should be happy that you have a husband that wants to do that. Yeah. And I think him and my husband are like very similar in that way. Because my husband is the same way. Like if you don't want to, we're not doing it. Like he is like not having it. I remember like after I had my oldest daughter, I tore really, really bad in childbirth, and they had to sew me up. And when they sewed me up, I was so much tighter than before. And it hurt awfully to have sex.
And I talked to my doctor about it, and she's saying, we can try, like, essentially, like, gauge dildos, kind of, like, stretch it back out and stuff. God. But then she was saying, honestly, she's like, even with that, at some point, you're just gonna have to do it. And just do it, like, doggy style or something where he doesn't have to see you cry, because, like, that is terrifying. Right, well, when we tried, and I was literally crying, and he's like, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. We're just not gonna have sex. He's like, I'm not doing this while you're crying, like... And I'm like, just do it. Put a pillow on my face. Just do it. Like, we're never going to get through this.
If he's sober and I'm drunk or something, even if I'm trying to initiate it, he's like, nah. Yeah. I'm not here for this.
Yeah, but that's great, though, because there's that's not true for everyone. But, so you feel like you're still working through, like, y'all's shit. Yeah.
Definitely still working
through it. I think for me, it's actually, what's kind of funny is it's kind of actually a little bit opposite. Like, not opposite, but... So I guess I just have like a much higher sex drive than my husband.
Yeah.
Which being, I think part of purity culture for females is essentially being told that men only have one thing on their mind. They only have one thing. That's all they want all the time. That's all they think about. And so for me, it was like devastating that he did not want to have sex all of the time, because I'm like, okay, that means he's cheating on me. That means he's like fucking other girls. That means he's just jacking off all the time. Like my mind goes to all of these places, not that we just don't have matching sex drives.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what I was like, well, if you have to want it all the time because you're a male. And it was like really him that's like, that's sexist as shit, right? He was like, I'm like, but it is. And you just don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
And so it caused a lot of problems in the beginning because I just have a much higher sex drive. And, there's ways to take care of that. But I also was always told like masturbation is wrong and like all of these things. So like I didn't, we're getting like really real. Like I didn't ever masturbate until after I was married.
Oh.
And so, I didn't know it. I didn't know a dildo. I didn't any of that until after I was married.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy. And so, but I'm just like, but what's crazy, but even that, I guess is what I'm saying, it caused problems because I had this vision of like what men want and what men do and what men are or whatever, and that was just not the case for me. And so it caused a lot of problems. I feel like we got over a lot of that, and but then it's kind of like a lot of like course correcting too, because it's like then, especially like when he works out, like he gets a much higher sex drive and stuff, like at the time he was like working a really physical labor job, and he was like tired as shit when he got home. So he was like, it's not that I don't love sex. I love sex. He's like, I'm just like exhausted, like physically exhausted. Well, and I just couldn't understand it. And at the time, and now looking back, I'm like, that was really insensitive to me, because like if the roles were reversed and I was the male that was pissed because it would be fucked up. And I'm like, I really had to like look at myself and be like, well, that's really fucked up of me to be mad and like giving him attitude because like I didn't get sex essentially.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like the reasons I was mad and upset was not because of the physical act, but it was because of what I had been told my whole life. Like, that's all men want, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, well, why don't you want it? You know what I mean? So it was like, so that was like really hard in the beginning. But now as he has like more of a sex drive, it's like we kind of, because sex was such like a like point of contingency in early years of our marriage, it's kind of like what you're saying too. It's like now we're in this like really awkward place of like trying to figure it out all over again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really been over the last like kind of since I've been deconstructing, essentially. It's like the last couple of years, like that we've really had open and honest conversations about it. But it's like essentially like starting your sexual like history relationship all over again.
Yeah.
And it's like learning each other's cues and like learning each other. Like, and I know like one thing he told me the other day, he was like, he's like, especially now that I'm working out again, he's like, I'm like good to go like a lot, right? It's like what he says. He's like, but I don't know when you are. He's like, I just feel like we never learned each other's like cues and stuff, because in our dating history, even like where you kind of learn a lot of that, it was like me beating myself up all the time for having sex, me feeling bad, us not having a lot of sex, which is why I think we never realized we had different levels of sex drive, because I didn't have sex very much when we were dating. Did I have sex? Yes, but not often because I felt so bad. So that kind of, it just caused all of these like things, like
so many issues.
Exactly, in our marriage. And so it's just like, and I feel like we're in a much healthier place now, but even he was like, I don't I don't know. He was like, I don't know when. And he's very much the same. That's like, I don't want you to have sex with me if you don't enthusiastically want to.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, now I feel weird, like asking you, like, he's like, it's caused this really awkward thing. And so for Valentine's Day, 2 years ago, I don't remember if I showed you this, but I got him this candle that says, when this candle is lit, I want that dick.
Oh, nice.
And he's just like, and I was like, then we don't have to talk about it. And because I was like, that's not really sexy, being like, yo, you want, like,
let's have sex right now.
yeah. Like, that's all, like, it's not sexy.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was kind of like a joke at first, and like we used it a little bit, but it was like, it kind of broke the ice of us, like, being awkward, I guess, if that makes sense. And things kind of started to improve after that. Now we don't really use the candle at all, but it like was like almost like an icebreaker of that conversation, like of learning each other's like cues and things. But that's stuff that you should be learning when you're young.
Exactly.
And
like how to express, like for me to tell my husband, like, I don't want to do this, like, I felt like that was a sin. Like, I felt like I was like,
you didn't have the tools
for that, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, I'm very much like emotionally driven as far as like sex goes, for sure. Like, if I'm not in a good place with you emotionally, like, or if I don't feel safe with you emotionally, it's gonna be really hard for me to just like want to have sex all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, or to want to have sex at all, honestly. Like, I just won't be turned on if I don't feel emotionally safe with you, like, it's just not gonna happen. And that's just me. And to this day, like, when me and him are not in a good place, like, I can't just turn it on, turn it off. Like, I'm just not there.
That's funny, because I think that's definitely not me. And I think that's just interesting, because I think that's definitely my husband. I mean, he's even told me that too. Like, if like we've been, fighting, or if he's like emotionally stressed, even like if stuff that has nothing to do with me,
I'm the same way.
He doesn't want to, and I'm not that way at all. So I'm like, it's kind of hard for me to like put my head around, because like for me, I almost see it as like two different types of sex. Like, I guess, and I know that's kind of probably sounds weird, but I kind of see it as two different types. I see the one that's just like essentially scratching an itch, right?
Yeah.
I see that can just be like fun quickies, like whatever, like get what you need done and get out. Like, but then I also definitely experience those like emotionally connecting sexual experiences that are, to me, way more than even sex, right?
Yeah.
It's like a whole emotional experience, right? So for me, it's kind of two different things. And so I'm like, would I want to do this one all of the time? No. And I think that's where like my husband, like, and it sounds kind of like you, like, if you're going to have sex, like, you want this whole emotional experience. And for me, I'm like, I love that. That's great. But we can do both.
I would rather have like one like emotional experience like once a month versus like a quickie once a week.
See, I don't know that I would agree with that for me.
Yeah.
But interesting. But everyone is different. But that's the thing. Like, I never knew anything about like, sexual compatibility, sex drive. Like, I never knew anything about those things, or how to broach those subjects, or how to talk about it and things. Like, I don't know. So I think a lot of the skills I didn't learn as an adolescent, like, I'm learning now, which is really late to be learning these.
It's very late.
But I mean, I'm glad it's better late than never, I guess, is kind of how I think about it. I just like, I want to have like an amazing sexual relationship with my husband, like whatever that looks like for us. And like, we have to figure out essentially what that looks like without all of the religious like restrictions and things. And like, for me, I like to be adventurous. So I'm like, let's try some shit. Like,
but did they say that? Like, I feel like I remember being told that sex outside of just missionary was a sin, even with your husband.
have heard that before. I've heard like using toys with your husband, like that's wrong. Like masturbation, like even when you're married, like is wrong. Like, I've heard all of those things like were wrong, but I'm just like, I don't understand why. But anyways, I've heard that. I was never told that, but I also was never told anything about sex. So like, when would they have told me?
So once I was like old enough, like once I was like married, there was still a conversation around like, don't do anything too crazy,
Yeah.
Just basically like missionary is the acceptable form of
a conversation
sex.
Like with your husband, or like a conversation?
No, like conversation that was had in church.
Okay.
About like
What's the logic there? Do you know?
I don't like. It's impure to have sex outside of missionary, but I know some religions also believe it's impure to have sex outside of trying to make a child.
I mean, that's true. So like, I mean, in Catholicism, I know a lot about, because my whole family, not my immediate family, like where I was raised, they're all Catholic. And for them, it's like no form of birth control, including condoms. Because essentially there's a scripture about spilling seed or something, like essentially. And so that's like where they derive all of it from.
So that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys on our next episode.
Bye.